Good evening. Welcome to Gita Wisdom with Lakshmi this fine evening, June 10th, 2025. Welcome to everybody. Very nice that you're here with me. We had a very eventful weekend, and currently I'm in Washington, D.C., visiting some friends. So thank you for joining me this evening for the Gita session that we're going to have. So we're going to continue on our path, on our journey through chapter 2, the Sankhya Yoga chapter, which an analytical study of the distinction between matter and spirit. I'm going to close the door here. All right. So we left off, I believe it was text 38, if I'm not mistaken. This section that we just went over, the last maybe 8 or 9 verses, talked a little bit about the social structure of the Vedic culture, and specifically the one that Arjuna is involved in. Now, when we look at it objectively, in terms of social structure, quite often we think, what is that all about? Social structure? Are you talking about caste system? But if you look at, according to the Gita, we look at the gunas, the modes of material nature, and we see, even in Ayurveda, you have the doshas, and there is, within the Vedic paradigm, there is an understanding that there are these influences caused by the external elements upon the psychophysical nature of individuals, human beings in particular. Even animal species are influenced by the gunas. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, and I believe it's the 4th chapter, Chatur Varnam Maya Shrishtam Gunakarma Vibhagasaha. He talks about how there is 4 basic divisions for our psychophysical nature, and also for our pursuit, because we've been speaking about the journey. If you remember way back in the 1st chapter, we talked about how life is a journey which rolls on 4 wheels, and those 4 wheels are kama, artha, dharma, and moksha, if you remember that, or gratification, economic development, dharma, acting responsibility accordingly, so that we align ourselves with the universal laws, and then ultimately leading to moksha, which means liberation. So we spoke about that, and the way these things operate, in terms of the dynamics of the human being, and how a human being is able to function in a society. The Vedic literatures talk about a very specific social dynamics, and it really means understanding what our nature is, and what are the predominant influences, either from the guna perspective or the modes perspective, and Ayurveda would be the doshic perspective. So Krishna, in that 4th chapter verse of the Gita, says we have 4 different basic categories, and how the guna influences the mind and the body, the physical and the mental, it determines what general category we are in the social structure, according to Bhagavad Gita. So it works in those who are predominantly influenced by sattva gun, which means clarity, which means knowledge and happiness, all the characteristics of sattva gun. They're more or less the teachers of society. And from a very early age, I've been a teacher, and whether I liked it or not, whether I accepted it or not, somehow or another, I always gravitated towards teaching, and eventually that became my profession. I was a high school teacher for some years, and been blessed with the opportunity to teach Bhagavad Gita over these last 50 some odd years that I've been involved with Bhakti Yoga. But, you know, the tendency or the inclinations which are born by the influence of the gunas, which is part of the analysis which creates a social structure that we operate in. Now, Krishna is very clear. It's not a birthright. It's not like you're born in the guna of a sattva, or you're born a teacher. It's actually qualities, and we discussed this also. It's qualities that you manifest, your inclinations. And we've discussed previously also that that's really the duty, the responsibility of a parent, to observe their child very carefully and understand their nature, and then lead them along a path that will cultivate their natural qualities and their natural instincts. Not that it's an imposition. We impose upon our children, oh, I want you to be a doctor, or I want you to be a lawyer. It's not an imposition. It's really the parents, out of the parents' love for the child, we try to observe objectively what is that child's inclination and arrange an education for that child that is suitable. I remember when I was in high school, and in my day, you know, you had pre-college or technical, you had the different categories. I don't know if they still do that, but in my day they did. And I had a cousin who hated academics. He was not into academics. It wasn't that he wasn't capable of doing it. It just didn't resonate with him. Excuse me. Academics didn't resonate with him, but put a tool into this young man's hand, and he was brilliant. He was a genius. He could fix a car. He could build a house. He can do so many things. And he went on, according to his natural inclination, to take on work which was according to his inclination, because it was so strongly in him and he so keenly recognized it. So this is, like I said, this is our responsibility, to understand the nature, and there is a universal order of things in terms of social structure, and then we are to try to fit in to that universal social structure. And you know, whether it be a person who is inclined towards academics or towards teaching or towards knowledge in general as their love, or why I'm getting into this is because we were introduced to Arjuna, the concept of Arjuna being a ksatriya, and a ksatriya is a compound Sanskrit word which comes from two different roots. One is chat, which means chat means harm, and trayate, to protect. So to protect one from harm. So those individuals that were influenced by, they say for the teachers, it would be the mode of goodness predominantly. For the kshatriyas, it would be predominantly the mode of passion, that they would be influenced by. The doers, the managers. This is the kshatriya nature. So we were introduced to that word after the analysis of what is matter and spirit. That was from text 12 to around text 30, I believe. And then the next 8 or so verses introduced us to the concept. Krishna is saying, you're a kshatriya. That is your nature. That is your training. And it's not only training, it was Arjuna and his brothers' nature to be warriors, to be of this particular level in the social order. And one is not better than the other. And that is oftentimes the misunderstanding, that if we talk about social structure, in this regard from the Vedic paradigm. Well, oh, Brahmins are the teachers are at the top of the heap. No, everyone has their contribution to society. So when society is operating in this way, then everyone is contributing to the best of their ability to the natural workings of society. So the Kshatriyas, they manage, and then therefore they take on the position of the kings and the various managerial posts within society, but they also take on the responsibility, because they have that inclination, to protect society. And I've used this example before, that we have our police force. My wife, who's from another country, we were driving today quite extensively, and she saw the state trooper, and she said, what is a state trooper? And I was explaining to her, the state has a police force, the county has a police force, the sheriff's department, county police, and the local municipalities have their police force. So there are this element within our society which is set up to protect us. This is part of our social structure. And those that have that inclination, military is another example. Of course, when you have a draft system, it's not so much that someone may or may not have an inclination. It's, you get drafted, you have to go. And a lot of people experience things like post-traumatic stress disorder because they're really not suited for that position. That kind of warfare, the explosions and the guns and the killing and all that, they're not inclined to do that. So when we kind of stray from understanding a person's nature and engaging them accordingly, then we could have people wrongly engaged, and thus, rather than being happily engaged in their profession, they are engaging because of force, like would be in the draft system. They're drafted into the army and in regard, or they simply don't know, what is their nature, and not knowing their nature, they may involve themselves in work, position that is not suited for them, and therefore, imagine someone has their microphone on. Please mute anyone that. Please observe whether you have your microphone on or not. So this kind of social order, social structure, was recognized and pointed out by Krishna. And if you read the Vedic literatures in many different places like the Mahabharata or the Ramayana, there's extensive discussion about that. And there's, even books which especially deal with this topic. So Krishna was telling, I'm getting into this, introducing you to the social structure here. It's a class and a seminar in and of itself, just because Krishna is referring to Arjuna on that level as a Kshatriya. Act like a Kshatriya. That's who you are. And you'll be happy, and you'll be able to do your dharma, your service, your responsibility to society if you act accordingly and properly. And I cannot emphasize enough. Look at your own lives, for instance. I'm not going to open it up for questions or ask you, but look in your own life and ponder your own journey to where you are right now and what you're doing, the kind of work that you are doing. Ask yourself, are you happy? Do you go to work every day looking forward to do what you need to do? And yes, every position, even when you are rightly situated, will have its austerities. Not every job is just, perfection. There are austerities no matter what we do. But look at your own history, in terms of education, the education that you received, the various jobs that you may have assumed, the job that you are in right now, how happy, how satisfied, how stimulating is it? Because they've done research, and having a job just to receive a paycheck finds that a person will not be happy. A person that feels some challenge to their work, and the opportunity for growth in their work, beyond just the paycheck, is a very important component to be happy in your job. So the social structure of society is meant to try to recognize from a very early age one's position in society, where they can serve society in a capacity that is very useful and in a capacity that is very self-fulfilling. So there's that aspect of it. And then also, very important aspect of Vedic society and social structure is the spiritual component. It means not only should we be situated in a position, a job that we're happy going to every day and seeking to grow in that position and seeking to serve humanity in that way, but also there is the responsibility of moksha. Remember, we talked about one of the wheels of your life journey is moksha, or doing everything that you need to do so that eventually you can come to the understanding what is the purpose of human life. I said the other day at my birthday party, for some of you that were there, you may remember this in my little speech that I gave at my birthday, that Mark Twain said that there are two very important days in your life: the day that you were born and the day that you realized why you were born, the purpose of your birth. Those are the two most important days of your life. So, this is an important aspect. So in society, it's not only being materially situated, psychophysically situated, but also that according to the Vedic social structure, that what you do in the position that you're in leads you on a path, on your spiritual journey, that will eventually lead you to moksha, or the desire and the path becoming free or transcendental or connected in the proper way. So this system, the social structure that I'm talking about, the Varna ashram system, has its two dimensions: the recognition of your psychophysical nature, and also a recognition for what will best facilitate your growth spiritually. So we not only need to be situated according to our psychophysical nature, but also in a position that we can ride the railroad tracks, if you understand this analogy, that we ride two tracks. We have our material obligations and duties and responsibilities, but we also have our spiritual responsibilities and obligations and duties. So we have to ride both of those tracks. So the way that we can do that is in the Varna, we're recognizing our psychophysical nature, but in the ashrama sense, we also recognize the position that we assume that will also facilitate our spiritual journey. And as there are four different varnas, or according to the modes of material nature, you'll have the teacher, you'll have the administrator, warrior, you'll have the mercantilistic division, which includes farming and business and mercantilistic activities, cow protection, etc. That would be the third tier: teaching, Brahmin, ksatriya, the warrior administrator, the Vaishya, which would be the whole belly of society, mercantilistic, all the business side of it, and then the Shudra, which would be the aspect of society that serves the other three. So you have those four divisions according to the nature. There are also four divisions that will situate us properly on the spiritual tip, keeping in mind our life's journey includes the responsibility of understanding what is the purpose of life, our goal in life, and how do we connect to our true spiritual nature and to the Supreme Spirit or God. How do we connect to God? And that also has four divisions. And the first one is the student division. And we see that. We all go through our student years, right? Right up until, I mean, if you get a bachelor's degree, you graduate, what, at 22. If you get a master's degree, you take on another 2 years, 24. If you go for your doctorate degree, you can do a combined master's doctorate. That'll take 3 or 4 years, or any of the other doctorate degrees like medicine or legal or whatever. So we understand we are educated as a student till around 25, which is very consistent with the ashrama set, which says that those first 25 years of our life are meant to cultivate the knowing, the learning aspect of our life. Now, in the spiritual setting, it also includes an element of following rules and regulations, which will help us to cultivate a spiritual heart and mindset. And so this first 20, 25 years are usually done in celibacy, according to the Vedic paradigm, according to the varnashram, the social structure that we're talking about. The next 25 years is usually done what is called the married life is considered also an ashrama, because married life, if done properly, can also greatly facilitate our spiritual advancement. How is that so? We help each other in a relationship. The ideal relationship is that we help each other. We, in our various capacities, as a husband and wife, we're helping each other to create a suitable environment that will allow us to be peaceful in our mind and to cultivate spiritual dimension of our life. So that second division, which facilitates that, is usually done. The vast majority of society is expected to get married. You know, it's recognized from the social divisions of the Vedas that the vast majority of society will get married and raise a family. So that is also considered an ashrama, to create a home environment which is conducive for everyone, the husband, the wife, the children, everyone to have an opportunity for growth in their spiritual life. And then eventually there's the retirement age. After another, you figure the first 25 years as student, the next 25, 30 years in married life, then the next 20, 25 years in retired life. And this is where, you know, you fulfilled many of your social obligations, and now you get more and more serious. Husband and wife get more and more serious about their spiritual cultivation, making sure that all of their responsibilities as parents, as husband and wife are fulfilled. And then finally, the last stage, for some, it's not for everybody, is what's called sannyas, and that's the renounced order of life, and where you're really not involved in society so much, but you're involved in contemplation, meditation, and for those that are inclined, teaching. And that is the whole concentration in terms of the ashram. So it gives us four divisions that recognize our psychophysical nature, and then it gives us 4 divisions that recognize what is the best environment that we can do our duties so that we can also cultivate spiritual life. So that was all about these verses up until 38 or 39, I believe. So now I'm going to begin with text 40, because I think I end it with 39. Yeah, I'll do 39 again. Thus far, I have declared to you the analytical knowledge of Sankhya philosophy. So Krishna is saying, I gave you Sankhya in the previous verses. Now listen to the knowledge of yoga. Listen to this, of yoga, whereby one works without fruitive result. O son of Pritha, when you act by such intelligence, you can free yourself from the bondage of works. So, okay, here's a little introduction to the next section that we're going to move into. In Bhagavad Gita, there are 4 yoga systems that Krishna talks about: karma yoga, dhyana yoga, bhakti yoga, and jnana yoga. Throughout the 18 chapters, Krishna talks about that. But really, it's 2 basic categories. It's the category where you are working within society in one capacity or the other, or it's the category of yoga where you renounce society and you go up to the Himalayas and you do a series of your yoga practice, your yoga sadhana. So what Krishna is talking about here, and later on in the, I think at the beginning of the 4th chapter, he describes it a little further. He says that this system of yoga has been lost. And he's talking mostly about the system of yoga in action that's being lost. The system of yoga in action. So what are the systems of yoga in action? Karma yoga, where he describes it here, whereby one works but does not have a desire to enjoy the fruits of their works. In other words, the motivating force of working in a yogic way, according to karma yoga, is to please the Supreme. Now, we recognize in karma yoga we have desires. We still have some material desires. We recognize that. But they're also put into place or into play in our life to structure everything that we do in such a way that we can see it in relationship as being yajna. The Sanskrit word is yajna. Yajna means sacrifice. We see our job, our family, our responsibilities as a citizen. We see all of that. We're able to tie it in to the fact of yoga, where we want to connect to the Supreme through action. That would be karma yoga or bhakti yoga, or contemplation or renunciation, and that would be more dhyana yoga and jnana yoga. Jnana yoga means the yoga of knowledge. It's the yoga of chanting various mahavakyas or mantras from the Upanishads primarily, which help us to understand the distinction of matter and spirit and to live in the knowledge, in the understanding that we are spirit by nature, eternal spirit by nature. So really, not to make it too confusing for you, 2 basic categories. One is to work in yoga, and the other one is to renounce in yoga. So I hope that's clear. So Krishna is saying here, now listen to the knowledge of yoga where one works without fruitive results. So he's going to talk primarily about karma yoga in chapters 2, the end of chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, and chapter 5. Those chapter divisions Krishna is primarily giving an extensive understanding of how to work in yoga, how your work, how your responsibilities is in yoga, which means it can connect to your eternal relationship with the Supreme. When you act by such intelligence, Krishna says, you can free yourself from the bondage of work. Krishna later will describe in the third chapter, he'll later describe Jagnartat karmano nyatra loko yam karma bandhana. So he'll say, in that particular verse in the third chapter, when he's further describing, he'll say, you can either act as sacrifice to the Supreme, or you can act without that understanding, and the end result will be you'll get bound. Again, somebody has their, I know I'm supposed to be able to mute here. Let's see. Yeah. So that is the understanding. Loko yam karma bandhana. If you don't know yoga, if you don't put yoga in your life, the methodology which helps you to connect to the eternal, then that work, and it may look the same, and I think I've used this analogy before, your work in karma yoga or in bhakti yoga may look like regular work, but there is the cultivation of the mindset that this is an offering to God. This is an offering to the Supreme. And therefore, it has the connecting force. Whereas if you don't have that mindset, if you're not cultivating your mindset, you're just doing work because you need to work, you need to make money, you need to live, etc. It doesn't have, it becomes V-yoga. V-yoga means separating. You're separating yourself from your true nature, and you'll distance yourself further and further away. So that's why yoga, the word yoga is put in there. Yoga is put in there because your actions are meant to help you connect, see the connection, and act in a connective way to the Supreme, and that will help you on your path of moksha, described as the four divisions, the four wheels that society runs on. It's that last wheel that is helping us to actually have the understanding, as Mark Twain says, the second most important day of your life is why you took birth. What is the reason? What is your purpose in life? I've said a lot. I've covered a lot. Does anyone at this juncture need something cleared up before I move on? Anyone need to ask a question? Not a problem if you have a question. Some of the concepts I mentioned might be new to you, but if you actually, like for instance, the social structure, if you look at what we have here, I think we have the personality index, which identifies people according to their personality inclinations. There is a lot of stuff out there in the world of psychology that recognizes these kinds of things. It was formalized and implemented many, many thousands of years ago in the Vedic culture. And that's why I mentioned it and tried to educate it on that, because there is reference to it in the Bhagavad Gita and a whole lot of reference to it in the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, to this social order. So did anyone have any question, or should I just move on? Anyone? Okay, I'll move on. Hoping that you We're not bewildered here. So we're on 40 now, and now Krishna is kind of getting back into knowledge, but what he said in the previous verse, I'm going to tell you how to work without being implicated in your work. I'm going to tell you how to work and how that work can become an offering to the Supreme, which will help you to become connected to your eternal nature in relationship with the Supreme. So this is 40, very important verse, often quoted by my teacher, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution. That means in this practice of yoga, I'll preface it, in this practice of yoga, be it karma yoga or bhakti yoga, there is no loss or diminution. And a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. Who can guess what is the most dangerous type of fear? Anyone? Fear of what?
Falling back down into animal species, like lower species, from the human form.
Yeah, falling away from our human form of life. Anyone else would like to contribute? What's the most dangerous, what's the most prevalent, strongest fear that people experience?
The fear of death.
Yes. Yeah, Trish, I would say fear of death is a good one. I think here in Krishna is also talking about that, the most dangerous type of fear. So he's saying in this endeavor, there's no loss or diminution. It means whatever advancement you make on the path of yoga, specifically he's talking about bhakti or karma yoga. When you make advancement, even if you don't complete, you don't achieve moksha or liberation. And according to the Vedas, of course, there's reincarnation, or a better word is transmigration of the soul. If you haven't fulfilled your destiny, so to speak, which means full enlightenment, full realization, and you are still at the time, at the juncture of death, you still have attachment to things in this world, and you have to come back. So I've mentioned the word samskaras. We've mentioned samskaras, we've mentioned karma. So there is karma that you have accrued, good karma, everything good that you've done, you get credit for. You don't lose it because you die and you go to another destination, another birth, another body. You don't lose the credits that you've achieved during the course of your previous life or lives. You carry them with you. Samskaras means the impressions. How sadhana is so important because it helps us to create lasting impressions of our spiritual life. And so, if for some reason we do not complete our journey, we have to come back. Those samskaras from your sadhana, from things that you have done, that are positive and spiritually oriented, they're there. And when you come in contact in a next birth with activities which are akin to those previous credits that you've gotten, it arouses something in you. Like, and thinking, you all can think in relationship to yourselves. But in my case, when I got to college and I had that kind of freedom of thought at that particular point in time, I started to think, I came in contact with Eastern mysticism, and I started to think a lot about that. And then it became more and more serious for me. So that arousal, that inclination, it wasn't there out of the blue. It just happened to happen. No, it happened because more than likely in previous births, I had connection, or I had performed some kinds of activities that created these sanskaras and created a karmic reaction that I had to experience. So when I did put myself in connection with Eastern mysticism, and some can say it was by accident, or others can say it was destiny. For me, what I can remember at least is the course I took in English that was epic poetry, and one of the epic poems that we studied was the Bhagavad Gita. And that created a whole interest, an ever deepening interest in the wisdom of Bhagavad Gita. So, this is how it happens. So, it doesn't diminish. You maintain it. You don't lose it. And then this awareness that we get, we actually, as we progress, we develop awareness of awareness. We actually develop an understanding that we are aware, conscious entities. So there's an awareness that that's what we are and that's what we have. So what is the most dangerous type of fear? Trish and Shamai gave us their insight, and both of them were correct. The fear of death. And that's what why Krishna went through great pains describing the distinction between matter and spirit. Because matter is temporary, not as an energy, but in a form. When the matter, due to karma, whatever, comes together as a form, a human form in particular, then that matter in that form, according to the karma will indicate your gender, in your gender inclination. It will indicate your level, how far you can progress intellectually. It will determine how you look. It will determine how healthy you are, and it will also determine your financial status. It will help to determine that. So all of these things are indicators of good karma, so to speak, and bad karma is the opposite. If you're always unhealthy, it's an indication of bad karma. If you don't have access to knowledge, indication of bad karma. So all these things are there, and Krishna tells Arjuna, the soul neither is slain nor slays, right? That's really the work of karma going on, because in karma, we, like I say, we are gender and et cetera, is based on our karma, but it also it indicates, our karma will indicate to us how far we can progress, and an indication of whether or not we will understand the spiritual dimension of our existence. So the most dangerous type of fear can be relinquished by this knowledge of the true nature of the self. If we not only know intellectually that we're eternal beings, but as we progress on our yogic path, we begin to have experience or realizations in that way, then fear of death, which is not who we're eternal beings, no longer exists. So that's why Krishna says in this verse, the most dangerous type of fear of death, fear of regressing into a lower species of life. This is another famous verse, text 41. Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. So that means, those who are on a serious yoga path, what do they have? What is symptomatic of their seriousness? It's their commitment to their path. This is really one of the indicators of how much you want to advance, is how much you are willing to commit. Because Krishna says here, those who are serious, I'll put the adverb in there, that seriously on the path are resolute in purpose. That means they're fixed. That means they are fixed to the degree that we can at least recognize that we must put into our life a daily habit, so to speak, of sadhana, practice, that which is done repeatedly over a long period of time. So our yogic path in bhakti in particular, our sadhana consists of chanting God's names, either chanting on beads as a personal meditation called japa, or chanting music meditation called kirtan. Swadhyaya is another aspect of sadhana for a serious practitioner of yoga. Swadhyaya, Patanjali mentions that in Kriya Yoga in the Yoga Sutras, and it's mentioned elsewhere. Swadhyaya means the study of sacred texts and the implementation of the dictates of the sacred texts to incorporate that into your life. So this is there. The resolute purpose is indicated by that commitment to sadhana and all the various aspects of sadhana. And their aim is one. I'm doing this sadhana to become yukta. Yukta means connected or linked. If the word yoga means to link or to connect or union, the word yukta means one who is, as a result of their sadhana, is linked or is connected or is in the process of being linked and connected to their true spiritual nature. So their aim is one. They're fixed. There's no doubt. Like every morning I wake up, there's no doubt in my mind. Do I do my sadhana or not? No, it's like, as certain as it will be that you'll go to the bathroom and take a shower, that's going to happen pretty much every morning, at least in most people's case. The sadhana will be there for me in that regard. So the aim is there, the resolute determination is there. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched. It means if we do not, and this even goes for yoga practitioners, if we do not become resolute in purpose and our aim becomes one, and then we could become, people at a smorgasbord, at a yoga smorgasbord. A little bit of that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Each yoga practice, I'll use the Bhagavad Gita as an example, and not so much the modern day terms. But if we have a practice of Gyan Yoga every day, we're going to be chanting Mahabhakyas. Om is one, Tattvamasmi is another one, Aham Brahmasmi is another one. There's meditation on the meanings of those verses. In Karma Yoga, there's acts of charity. There is so many rituals that are performed, etc. In Bhakti, I gave you the various aspects of the Bhakti sadhana, the chanting of God's names, japa and kirtan, swadhyaya, etc. All of these things are there. So all will be performed. If not, even if you are practicing yoga, the intelligence of those who are not resolute is many-branched. It means we're off in different directions. Should I do this? Should I not do this? I want to do that. I want to go here. I want to go there. The ability, see, because Patanjali talks about the Ashtanga system of yoga, right? Yamas, niyamas, asana, pranayam, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. So the first four, yama, niyama, asana, and pranayama are for the external. Then when you get into pratyahara, you're taking external and bringing it internal. And only then do you have the ability to do dharana, or concentration. So what Krishna is saying here, the intelligent, if you don't have a sadhana, if you're not resolute in purpose, if you are not committed, and even this goes for any kind of development we want to have, any kind of knowledge or talent we want to develop, if there's not commitment, we can look at the stories of great athletes, great musicians, great scientists, people who have achieved greatness in their field. There is a lot of commitment. They have been determined. They have been resolute in their purpose, and therefore they have again and again performed their sadhana, or their attempt to develop a deep understanding of that which they are focused on. So yoga is very important, that kind of commitment is there, that kind of determination is there, the resolution that to do it, and to do it in a regular fashion. And then we are able to develop a focus, a concentration. Otherwise, Krishna says, that won't happen. Text 42 and 43 reads as follows: Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, result in good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this. Now, this is, you have to have a little bit of a reference to what's being said here. There are sections, the Vedas are voluminous. There are many different types of Vedas. There's what's called Karma Kanda section of the Vedas, which is different than Karma Yoga. So the Karma Kanda section of the Vedas says that if you want elevated level of gratification of the senses, then even that requires resolute determination and a certain degree of application. So there is an aspect of the Vedas, the Karmakandic section of the Vedas, which dedicates itself to performing rituals, all kinds of activities where you can actually have elevated levels of gratification, sense gratification. So men of small knowledge. Why is Krishna saying that? Because again, if you're spending a lot of time and a lot of effort for elevated levels of gratification within this world, it's going to end. And during that sojourn, you run the risk of doing some bad karma activities and having to come back and experience the results of your bad karma also. So Krishna is saying, okay, you can achieve a higher level of gratification if you perform these actions. But that's not very intelligent, because if you do the same thing in a yoga practice, meaning a methodology, a system, or a discipline, which connects us to our true spiritual dimension and our relationship, our loving relationship with the supreme spiritual soul. If it's the same amount of time, the same amount of effort, and quite often there are similar rituals and similar acts that are performed. The only difference being is intention. If my sankalpa, my intention, is for increased gratification, then Krishna says that's not intelligent. You're doing what you need to do to obtain moksha, to obtain your spiritual emancipation. It makes sense. A person can understand, if I'm going to do it, I might as well do it in such a way that I can achieve the maximum benefit of the human form of life. You have to eat, right? You have to cook to eat. Most of us do, anyhow. You have to cook to eat. Yogic performance of cooking means that we do it with the intention, the sankalpa, of preparing this food with gratitude and respect from whence it came. And then we do an offering. We make an offering to bring that to mind, to remind us that this is an act of gratitude that I am offering to the Supreme. And everything that we do, even our work, I am serving society, I'm helping people, and also I'm sharing with them this wisdom. This wisdom of the Gita is not only meant for your self-benefit, but it's also something, and Krishna gives recognition to those who share it at the very, very end of the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna displays his gratitude. So someone who is studying this wisdom, trying to incorporate it within one's life, any realizations which come as a result of this wisdom, then we can share it also. And I've found in doing this for so many years, so many places I've gone, so many things I've done, traveled worldwide, whatever, any function that I go, I always find people that are really, really interested in understanding the purpose of life. Always. What you put out, of course, you also attract. But I always find, even if I go to the car wash, I went to the car wash yesterday. I wanted to have a nice clean car for our journey. So the one man that I see there, he's from Venezuela, so I speak to him a little bit in Spanish, and we've become friends. And he saw on my dashboard, I have a little card there of Radha Krishna, and right above the Radha Krishna is Hare Krishna. So every time he sees me now, Hare Krishna, he says Hare Krishna. And with a big smile, he really, really enjoys it. And it so happens he's from Venezuela, and one of the most famous musicians in the history of Venezuela is also a devotee of Krishna, Ilan Chester. So he knows Ilan, growing up as a boy with his music. And Ilan is one of my best friends. And so we always talk about Ilan. So we always, even at the car wash, my point is I have points of reference where I can talk a little bit about the wisdom of Krishna. So we can do that too. So men of small words are attached to actions performed to give you elevated levels of gratification. And Krishna is using the word small intelligence because greater intelligence means shreyas instead of preyas. Shreyas means actions that have ultimate benefit, and preyas means actions that have immediate benefit. So you can either do actions that have ultimate benefit that will follow you throughout your sojourn, or you can do preyas activities, actions that just have an immediate benefit. You get some immediate gratification out of that. So Krishna is saying, no, don't do that. Get into it. Text 44. And will I stop here? Let's see what the time is. Yeah, I'll stop at text 44. In the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination of devotional service or bhakti yoga to the Supreme Lord does not take place. So that's what Krishna is instructing Arjuna, mamatva. If you're attached to your family and your friends, and you're attached and you won't, and the result of your attachment is your ownership of those relationships or anything that you may become attached to in this world, then that is the source of our suffering in this world. So if you are too attached to sense enjoyment and opulence, then you don't have the ability or the perspective or the openness to see that you become bewildered by these attachments, as Arjuna became bewildered by his attachment to his family and thus his unwillingness to fight. So we become bewildered by these attachments, Krishna is saying, and then the resolute determination to perform yoga does not take place. So Krishna is giving Arjuna this instruction. It's an instruction for us. And that's why the performance of action with the ability to take the fruits of our action and transform it into an offering to the Supreme. And that in and of itself has a transformative effect on our consciousness, which means now we're able to cultivate an intention of why I'm doing what I'm doing. We are able to consciously cultivate the sankalpa, the intention of why I'm acting in this particular way, with what remembrance that is there that will help me, shreyas, achieve that which is ultimately beneficial for us. So I'll stop here. Thank you very much. You know, I was really tired from the drive today and yesterday. I personally drove, it's about 15 hours. And I was thinking, should I give the class? And then when I just thinking of being with you guys and you know, speaking on the Bhagavad Gita, I got all my energy back. I got all the energy back, and you know, when it came to about 6:45, I told my wife, "Yeah, I want to give the class. I want to be with everybody and share with them, you know, what I'm excited to share with you." So again, thank you very much. I'll open the floor up for any questions, any comments, any observations that are there. If anyone has anything they would like to share with the rest of the group, please feel free to unmute yourself and speak up. Anyone?
I just wanted to thank you for doing the class, that you decided to continue.
Yeah, Amy, it's just like I said, I like being with you all. You know, I like being with people on the path, and it's very exciting for me. And so because of you all, I got my energy, and here I am. So thank you. Thank you for your attendance and your willingness to listen, and you know, any questions, comments, greatly appreciated. I want to thank, thank you those who attended my birthday party, surprise birthday party here in South Florida. Trish and Sri Hari and Angelica, you know, anybody else was there from our area here, and a great shout out of thanks to my wife Gokula Priya, who orchestrated the whole thing. And I want to tell you something. I don't know if I shared this with you, but Gokula Priya, on the day that she was having major organization to do, she got into a car accident and totaled her car. So Sri Hari said, I called him up and she needed a ride, and quite naturally she was a bit traumatized. So Sri Hari lives in Delray, and he went and picked her up at the scene of the accident. And he said to her, you want to go home? You want to go to the hospital? And she said, no, I have to go to the hall where we're having Lakshmi's surprise birthday party. There's a couple of things I have to do. So that's resolute determination. And being traumatized, totaling your car, she could have easily just gone to the hospital or just gone home and started crying. No, instead she did that. So my deepest gratitude for that. And I was truly surprised. I mean, so much so that even when I walked into the hall, I didn't get it. It was a surprise party for me because the way it was organized is we have weekly gatherings. So it was organized, it was advertised as one of our weekly gatherings. So I just thought, oh, wow, it just happened to fall on my birthday. That's cool. So, we'll kind of roll it into one. That's what I was thinking. And my wife's going, yeah, that's right. That's what's happened. And unbeknownst to me, it was an organized, orchestrated effort to have the party. So even when I walked in, I had the harmonium and my son had the mridangam. We walked in and everyone was there. The lights were out and everyone was there. And I'm going, oh, this is strange. The lights are out, and everyone's here on time because you know how parties are. Usually nobody comes on time, but everybody was there. I'm going, wow, this is strange. The lights are out. Everyone's here. What's going on? And then the happy birthday chorus began. So I want to thank all of you for doing that. And it was truly a great evening of celebration. I appreciate it. So again, thank you all for being here with me today. I'm on the fence about next Tuesday. I'll let you know because I'm still going to be here. I'm in my friend's house in DC. It's quite a nice house and lots of accommodation and facility to let me do this. So next week, I'm not exactly sure where we're going to be on Tuesday, but I will let you know. I will give you all a heads up, whether it's a yay or nay. If it doesn't happen, it will certainly happen the following week. So that's a given. But I really, like I said, I really enjoy doing this, and I really enjoy being with you on these evenings. So to the best of my ability, if I have the facility, I will have the class. So thanks again, folks.
Yep.
Wonderful. You all have a happy, healthy, and holy week coming up. Until we see each other again.
Thank you, Lakshmi.
Hari Bol.
Haribol.
Krishna.
Thank you.
We'll see you all.
Thank you,
Hari
Lakshmi.
Bol.
Amazing class.
Thank you, Hari. I appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
And safe journeys.
Thank you. Yeah, I still have a 5-hour drive to New York City.
Oh my gosh.
But at least I have a couple of days of rest. Okay.